Um, Welcome to the Wellness Masterclass today with Amir Alroy. And he is head of WellTech One. And he has some guests that he will be introducing: Shomrat Shurtz from the Israeli Innovation Authority and Adi Wallach from CalmiGo. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And the topic today is Israeli innovation in the time of COVID-19, investing in wellness technology. What an important topic. Uh, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy in just a second, but I always like to say something a little personal. And Amir, it's nice to see you. We first met at a conference that you came to, one of our Global Wellness Summits, and you were our first delegate from Israel. And so it was exciting that you were there. And since that time, we've become closer, and to the point where you stepped up to be the host for our 2020 summit, which, as most people know, has been moved to 2021 in Tel Aviv. So this year we're going to be in Palm Beach because of the pandemic. However, we are very excited. And I just want to say what is so exciting is that Amir is a tech expert and wellness. He is somebody, and there's very few people who really are looking at the tech and wellness space. And all of us on the call and all of us in the wellness industry, I would say, are not so tech savvy. And so we're hoping that, Amir, you will help us bring us more into that, because we know it's the future. And so we're excited about today. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy, who you've all heard is in Connecticut, where there were a lot of storm damage. So we're not going to see her, but we'll hear her, and she will do a more formal introduction. Nancy?
Thank you, Susie, and thank you, everybody. I am sorry not to see that beautiful global mosaic I so love, but I am so happy to at least be on the call. I am in Connecticut, where there were terrible storms and we're out of power and all kinds of things, but that's not going to stop this call, that's for sure. I'm going to give you a few Zoom logistics before I get into introducing my dear friend. Beatrice has muted everybody because of the size of the group. We're going to stay muted. That keeps the background noise out. If you want to see that mosaic of people on your call, bring your cursor to the top right of the Zoom window. You have a choice. If you choose gallery view, you'll see that checkerboard. And if you choose speaker view, which I urge you to do when Amir and his guests are speaking, they will become prominent on your screen. The center right of your Zoom window has a blue arrow, and if you scroll through that, if you click on that arrow, you'll see all the pages of people who have joined this call. As Susie mentioned, say hello in the chat. Bottom center of your Zoom window, there's a chat icon. If you click that, it opens up a window to the right. That's also a good place to put your questions during this call. Susie will be watching that chat and aggregating any of those questions and trying to bring them to the distinguished group of people presenting today. Alas, Zoom planned a share screen button, bright green, right next to the chat button. Try not to click that, because that can be accidentally very distracting to the rest of the group. I also want you to know this is being recorded, and the video of this will be on our Global Wellness Summit website, and that is something that people really share beyond this call. I urge you to share it with all of your friends and colleagues. I think it should be mentioned that Zoom is an Israeli invention, so hats off. I just want to now introduce Amir Alroy. So it was a few years ago that my partner and I were in Israel, and Josh Luckow, one of our wonderful wellness people, introduced us on the terrace of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem to Amir Alroy. And we hatched a plan then, I think it was 4 years ago, to bring a summit to Israel. And what I want to say about Amir is that he's a man who keeps his word and gets things done. So as Susie mentioned, the Global Wellness Summit would have been in Tel Aviv this year. It will be in Tel Aviv in 2021, and that is entirely because of Amir Alroy. So Amir is the co-founder of WellTech One. He's an incubator for startups in Israel, and it's at the intersection of wellness and technology. And as Susie mentioned, that is a very rich and fascinating and important intersection. Before he founded that, he was founder, CEO, and chairman of Cloud9 Wellness Clubs, which was the first exclusive professional personal training club in Israel. He's a wellness expert with vast business experience. He's a superstar in our world, not just because he is going to co-chair next year's summit in Israel, but he is also the global representative for Israel of the Wellness Moonshot, a world free of preventable disease. And he stepped up to do that, and we are eternally grateful. And if you knew Amir like I do, you wouldn't be surprised that his response to COVID-19 was to run a competition for tech startups interested in solving issues related to health and wellness. And of course, he ran it from his living room. It drew a tremendous global response. And he's working with us this year at the summit to run a similar contest, which we are going to be announcing very, very shortly in the next week or so. And that will culminate at our summit at the Breakers in November. Amir comes from a wonderful family of entrepreneurs. It's in his DNA, and it's, of course, in the DNA of his beloved country, known familiarly as the Startup Nation. He's whip-smart, warm, and passionate about his family and about wellness. He's brought some friends with him today to tell us about innovation in Israel, which, despite current circumstances, is alive and well. It's a personal pleasure for me to welcome Amir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for the warm words. It's a pleasure to take part in this masterclass. It's also my pleasure to share with you some insights about Israel, innovation and investments during these unstable times. Later on, a few of my colleagues, Shomrat and Adi, will join me. So my name is Amir. Since I remember myself, I've been involved with healthy living, well-being, and lifestyle. I even remember that when I served as an officer in the Israeli Air Force, while we were in field weeks, I used to eat healthy bars, and it was quite a joke that time. My romance with wellness started 17 years ago, while I was studying for a master's in sports management in Miami. That was my first encounter with wellness. I also did an extensive personal training course, a wellness coach certificate, and I even read the book, The Wellness Revolution. I remember that time I was saying here in Israel and talking about wellness, nobody understood what I'm referring to. Later on, I bought an American person training studio. It was called Fitness Together. It was the first chain in Israel that offered personal training sessions in private suites. I then renamed it to Cloud9 Wellness Clubs. I had three locations in Israel. I sold it 10 years later. At the same time, I was always attracted to technology and have been involved through our family investment company, Israeli High Tech. We have been investing for the last 30 years in about 40 startups. While I was managing my fitness chain, I was always intrigued by the developing global wellness industry, and I started to come and attend the global wellness summits. The first one was in Mexico, and as Susie said, I was probably the first Israeli to arrive. That was an eye-opener for me, and I still remember feeling very excited, also days after my return to Israel. I then decided that my next professional venture would be global wellness. Since I've been investing with my family in Israeli high tech for many years, it was natural to combine both words, wellness and technology. Let me share my screen. So as you know, Israel is one of the most innovative places on the globe. Some refer to it as the startup nation. Israel is a country the size of New Jersey, has the largest number of startups per capita in the world, more than France, Germany, and the UK. There are a few reasons for that, as you can see, such as the experience gathered in the army, the unique model of HMOs, in Hebrew, Kupat Cholim, government support, massive involvement of multinationals, growth companies, private funding, and more.
Excuse me, Amir. We aren't seeing anything on the screen. Did you mean to share? And are we supposed to see something yet?
Yeah.
Because we're not seeing anything yet, but maybe it's too early. Beatrice, he has the okay to share. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know when we see something, but we don't see it yet. Oh, okay. It says Amir, now we see it. Okay, continue, thank you.
Okay. So everybody can see it?
Yes, we see it now. Thank you.
Okay, great. So there are a few reasons for that. And as I said before, the experience gathered in the Army, the unique model of HMOs, government support, massive involvement of multinationals, growth companies, and many more. Some more interesting facts. For example, 46% of Israeli export derives from high-tech. 9% of Israelis work in high-tech. 13% of Israeli GDP is high-tech originated. The total number, and that is an amazing number of exits in 2019, reached $21.7 billion with over 138 deals. That year was a record of capital raising, a total of $8.3 billion. According to IBC Research Center, an Israeli entity, the first half of 2020 was also very successful. Israeli startups have raised 40% more than the first half of last year. However, we must all be aware, of course, that the economic impact of COVID-19 has yet to arrive in those statistics. And some more facts. 7 new multinational centers were opened in 2019. Most of the multinationals are here in Israel, like Google, Intel, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft already have presence in Israel. Israel leads the world in the number of scientists and technicians in the workforce. Israel also, and this is wellness related and health related, it has a health digital structure that is very unique. It's the 4th biggest healthcare system. By law, every Israeli has to join one of the 4 HMOs. That means everyone has one focal point that takes care of his health and gather all the data. Therefore, Israel has one big health system in Israel it's a big better site. In recent years, as an investor, I started to meet more and more startups in the wellness industry. And that finally convinced me to open WellTech One. I co-founded WellTech One about a year ago. And today it's the first wellness micro fund and innovation hub in Israel. It's also an open innovation platform for global corporates that scout wellness innovation. WellTech One invests in wellness startups. We operate a hub and a vibrant community. Our portfolio includes startups from fitness, nutrition, digital health, beauty, mental wellness, and more. Later on, Adi, the founder of CalmiGo, one of WellTech One's portfolio companies, will share her story and how she has been operating in the mental wellness sector during COVID-19. Lately, together with Startup Nation Central, also an Israeli entity, we prepared the first map of wellness startups in Israel. As you can see, there are about 500 wellness startups and growing. We meet them on a daily basis. They come from all sectors of wellness. On top of those 500, there are about 600 digital health startups and a total of 2,000 health tech companies. Those are big numbers for a small country. Now let me connect all of that information to the initiative Nancy spoke about before. We launched lately. The Moonshot, as the Moonshot representative in Israel, we thought that the best thing is to connect Moonshot to technology. The Moonshot, as most of you know, is a word free of preventable disease. It's basically the first global campaign dedicated to prevention and chronic disease. Once I accepted this important mission, I wasn't sure how to implement it in Israel. In April, during the peak of COVID-19 in Israel, during the first wave of the COVID-19, I felt that the most natural thing is to connect the Moonshot to technology. And we decided to call for global startups for an investment of $200,000. We were looking for startups with original and creative solutions, ability to scale, growing market for the solution, ready for market companies or those with initial revenues, and a strong business plan. We did it in partnership with the Moonshot, the Global Wellness Institute, as we felt it was a critical time to offer companies across the wellness technology space a much needed investment in a time of both crisis and opportunity. And of course, we thought it's a good opportunity for us as well. COVID-19 crisis has hurt overall seed stage funding for startups, but also intensely accelerated the importance of wellness, as we all know, wellness and prevention, and how technology can deliver and help us. Wellness has become radically more important to people during COVID-19. The idea for the call for startups was to attract new initiatives we all need now and in a post-virus world. The responses were amazing. 152 startups from over 25 countries and from all sectors of wellness applied. Actually, our initial goal was to have about 30 to 40 startups apply, so we were pleasantly surprised. I'm also proud to say that about half of the founders were women. At the first stage, my partners and I screened all applicants. During the second stage, we had global experts from Global Wellness Institute, PepsiCo, Nike, IFF, Facebook, Smart Group, and more meet them via Zoom, and we got their feedbacks. The last stage was a demo day with the last 10 amazing finalists. We had startups with promising ideas and deep technologies from all sectors of wellness, including mind, body. Many startups from mental wellness, which will be the theme in the next summit, corporate wellness, prevention, fitness, beauty, nutrition, and many more. In the next few weeks, we'd announce the winner or winners, so stay tuned. Nancy, back to you.
Thank you, Amir. Very, very impressive. And I know the slides, so I think I know what everybody has been seeing. That's absolutely wonderful, and you're such an incredible example. I love what you said about crisis and opportunity. I think that in the wellness arena, we're seeing those two things go hand in hand, as there has been tremendous innovation happening at a time like this, when people are really, dealing with the challenges they're dealing with. But it has really, spurred a lot of innovation, and certainly in Israel. I'm going to just do a quick introduction and turn it back to you of the next person who is going to give us a little information, and that is Shomrat Shurtz. I'm sorry that I cannot see her. She is the Senior Director for Business Development at the Israeli Innovation Authority. And she has over 25 years of experience in business, strategy, marketing, and regulatory affairs. She served as executive in several organizations at the Israeli biopharmaceutical and medical device field, and earlier in the financial arena. So she has quite an incredible combination of skills and expertise. She serves as chairwoman of the Israeli Goucher Association and holds a degree in physiology and biology, both from Tel Aviv University. And Amir, if you'd like to say anything else about your very dear friend before Shomrat speaks with all of us, please do.
In Israel, as I mentioned before, the government basically is one of the main reasons for the successful ecosystem. So Shomrat represents them very well. She's also my dear friend and has been training in my fitness gym for many years. So that's how we met. So Shomrat, we are with you.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Amir, and thank you. I'm so glad to see you all around the globe here. So really, thank you for attending this meeting. I had only a few minutes to share our experience as the Israeli Innovation Authority. I will go briefly on a short and hopefully not boring presentation. I know the background of some of you is less technical and less finance, and I'll try to go briefly over it. So the Israeli Innovation Authority. So why at all do we need the government to step in and push the innovation in a country? Why do we need these governmental funds to assist here? So actually there are three main reasons, and that I'm always emphasizing. The first is to generate the new growth engine, the future fields of wellness, of health, of any kind of science, even rocket science. And when I'm talking about future, I'm not talking about the next 2 or 3 years, I'm talking about the next 20 years. So I'm always asking, when a child is born today, what will he learn at the university when he grows up? And these are things or topics that we are not even aware of. And this is one of the fields that the government should step in and help assist the country in going forward to that step. The second one is barrier elimination. And the harsh word is regulation. And everybody hates regulation, but regulation is very important. And the most important thing is the balance between the bad thing of the regulation that stops us in entering new fields or new arenas, and the good thing that someone has to make sure that when I have a new watch, a new sensor on my skin, that it works okay and it may serve as the next wellness sensor properly. So again, regulation and barriers, the elimination. And when talking about economy, there are always the investors, like Amir presented, but investors that do not enter anywhere, everywhere. Where there is dangerous, where there are uncertainties, this is where investors will not happily go in. And this is our role as the government to step in and see and take this place of next investment. So the Israeli Innovation Authority, the numbers are quite correct now. We're about 150 employees, and a part of them, we have also around 200 evaluators, experts in their fields who really test and see every and each project submitted to the Israeli Innovation Authority. We have granted over $500 million last year, and I think this year it's going to be much bigger due to the pandemic. The way that we give the assistance to the entrepreneurs is by conditional loans, meaning we give them our support, our funds, and if it works, then we will wait around the corner, and when they start to sell their new product, we will slowly grab 3 to 5% of their income. It may take years, it's okay, but until we fill the bucket of dollars that we gave them. Okay, but what happens if, like most of the startups, if the idea falls? Then we will cry, we will wipe the tear and go on to the next project. This is the role of the government, to enter these places, to try and to see if it works. We are assisting each and every project in different steps, but I would like to share the newest program that we're dealing with in the past 2 years. It's the pilot program. We've noticed that the entrepreneurs or companies developing their project, when they already reach the end of the development, the end of the R&D, and they knock on the door on the first customer, everybody's saying, okay, the idea is very nice, but where does it work? To whom can we talk to and hear how successful it is? And so many companies fall at this stage, in spite of the fact that they earned money from investors and grandfathers and from the banks and everywhere. Was someone asking something? Okay, so I'm continuing. So we call it the valley of death for many companies. And us as the government, we would like to assist the companies in entering and passing this valley of death. So we created the pilot program to help companies already at the end or almost the end of the R&D stage of their project, and help this way expose all the new development, the technological development, directly into the pilot field or the government areas themselves. I was talking about later stage of development. I will go through it. The most important program of the pilot program is actually the digital health. We have already concluded 4 rounds of this pilot program very successfully. And as you know, Israel has a very unique arena of digital health. We saw many of the companies, I'm feeling like a proud parent, but so many companies that we've supported during the pilot program of digital health and wellness already introduced into the real life of the pandemic from the beginning, when we needed to isolate patients and communicate with them on all their parameters and their wellness and their status and their health, and even communicate with them. So many technologies were introduced into the corona arena, into the isolation departments, and are already working there very successfully and starting to sell. Some of them are already selling or trying to sell their inventions around the globe. I know several in the US, very emphasized during the pandemic time. We did several things during the corona. We really were sitting and deciding how can we assist the companies, the economics, the health. What can we do? It's Israel. We have to think about out of the box, as we say. So we've decided to go into 3 different programs. The first one was for the small companies, immediately take over 20 million US dollars and go and solve the pandemic now, wherever you can, whatever you can, either in surfaces or in vaccines, if you could do it really fast, or in detection. And we have several very interesting inventions already on the field. The second one was into the bigger companies. We call them the growth companies, those who are starting to sell. How can we assist them? And what we are trying to do, and it's now running also, is to assist all the banks and insurance company, to assist them to invest in the bigger companies of the high-tech, of the health industry. Usually, less and less companies are being invested by the big bodies, the insurance, the banks, the investment banks. And what is the barrier here? The barrier is actually to promise them that even if there is a downside in investing those smaller companies, the government will be there and assist them with the downside, like a stop loss. And this is what we're doing now, and it's running with around 600 million US dollar program. The last one is for the really big companies, and they also need assistance during the pandemics. And now we are working on this as well. So I went over the program. So I told you about the call for proposal. Amir presented his smaller call of proposal, and we had a bigger one with more money as the state of Israel. And we had a huge request for the budget. It was amazing. We didn't sleep for around a month, going over all the 900 proposals submitted to us. Amazing thing. And I would like to say that everybody was recruited. The academia, even army bodies were submitting very interesting things. companies doing the shift in programs, doing a pivot towards the pandemic. What can we do to solve this status? And once you recruit them, you have brilliant ideas. And also the health organization needed to absorb all the new options and to see how to work with. So we are now in the middle of all the programs that I just told you of the Corona, and now working really hard and hoping to find the next solution. Some of them already working. That's it from me now, and I will stop share. Thank you.
Shomrat, that was unbelievable. So inspiring. My God. I mean, talk about putting your money where your heart and soul are, and it's no surprise that, you know, Israel is really leading in innovation because of the government involvement and the commitment to, you know, help companies big and small. I thought it was very interesting that it was also large companies. I wonder, before we move on to Adi, if you could talk a little bit more about digital health and what you're seeing in the sort of health and wellness space with those companies you're supporting.
Yeah, sure. So in normal times, not the pandemic time, we have quite a few wellness proposals or submissions to our digital health program. I'm going one step backward and say that during 2018, the government had a plan of around 50 million new Israeli shekels, not 50, excuse me, it was 500, it's around $150 million US, a 5-year program, national program to promote and enhance the digital health arena of Israel. The government thinks and thought that 2 years ago that we have some kind of advantage at these fields. And when we're talking about digital health, it's also including the wellness arena, because everything is connected here. We were starting to work with the pilot program. It was the first program to spend money from the national program. By the way, the national program included 8 bureaus of the Israeli government, and it's really inspiring, and all of them went hand in hand to promote the digital health in Israel. Amir showed you the advantages of our landscape, and really this is something to promote the digital health here. We just had a committee today for R&D, not the pilot program, and there were several wellness programs, very interesting, regarding post-traumatic syndromes and remote learning for wellness purposes. Very interesting things. So we see it all around the year. Of course, the pandemic has increased the needs for remote wellness solutions, and they are here. We see them, and we're trying to promote them as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. I know there's been a tremendous amount of innovation around the pandemic, and isn't Israel working on one of the vaccines also that's in the news quite a bit?
Yes, definitely. We have at least 3 companies working on vaccine currently. I hope it's really close. You know, it has to go through regulatory paths, but we have several options here in Israel, yes.
That's wonderful. And Shomrat, thank you so much. I know I can't see the chat, but I can imagine it's lighting up with thoughts and questions and probably a lot of kudos for all the work that you're doing in support of innovation in Israel, which is really, it's a model for everyone else. I mean, I think it puts, it puts a lot of other countries to shame, but it's incredible. I'm going to introduce now Adi Wallach, who's the co-founder and CEO at CalmiGo. And she produces an innovative calming device that uses adaptive guided breathing, grounding technique, and relaxing scent to provide immediate relief for moments of anxiousness and stress. Boy, could I use it this morning. Adi has 18 years of experience in management and engineering roles at leading tech companies and was recently named one of Israel's 70 most brilliant young women by Lady Globe's Business Journal. I believe this is an investment of Tech One, so I'm going to let Amir do a little bit more of a personal introduction, and then we'll hear from Adi. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Adi is one of our portfolio companies. Adi is Israeli and lives in New York, and she is an amazing person. I thought that her story will be very interesting because it's really related to COVID-19 and how she will tell you all about what she did during, March, April, and so forth. Adi will talk about opportunities in mental wellness during COVID-19. Adi?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I'm very happy and excited to be here with all of you from all around the globe. I'll share my screen now, just a minute. Let me know if you can see it. Yes? Okay, great. So I'll talk today a little bit about CalmiGo, but mainly about mental wellness during COVID-19. So let's start. What is CalmiGo? CalmiGo is the first drug-free device that provides immediate calm for moments of stress and anxiety. And it does so in less than 3 minutes by regulating the user's breathing pattern and stimulating their senses in a way that stops symptoms in the moment, giving them back calm, control, and confidence. Some of its benefits include the fact that it provides both immediate relief as well as preventive care. It is very easy to use and safe, so we have users as young as 6 years old and also 91 years old users. It adapts to the user's performances in real time in order to ensure maximum efficacy, whether you are a 17 years old swimmer or 65 years old smoker. And it can be used anytime, anywhere. So we have users using it on airplanes, in the subway, and in many other places. I would love to answer any questions you might have if we have time, but I would like now to start talking a little bit about mental wellness. So in the last few years, stress and anxiety are considered epidemic. And to add some numbers to this statement, I would mention that 24% of the adults in the US suffer from extreme stress. Anxiety disorders top the list of mental health issues, while mental health issues are the most costly health condition in the US in the recent years, even more than heart problem. And also we know that over 17% of the US population consume psychiatric drugs. So no wonder the New York Times named the US Xanax nation in an article last year. COVID made the situation even worse. And why? First of all, there are real threats, mainly because of the fear from the disease and the economic situation. So we are more stressed and anxious because of that. There are significant changes to our routine, and even if some of them are for the better, we still have a lot to adjust to. And for many of us, COVID created less healthy routine. We are working from home, and whether if we have kids like this mom here, or we don't have kids, it for many of us creates more stressful working environment. Not to mention the fact that every meeting starts with figuring out who has the worst internet connection. We are isolated, and even if we don't define ourselves as very social people, isolation increases stress and anxiety for most of us. There is a lot of uncertainty, which is also a stressor, and we are less active. So even if we keep the same workout routine, assuming that we have one, we are still moving less, which increases stress and anxiety. Because of that, we see high demand for mental wellness solutions and technologies. And I want to talk about a few trends that we see. So first, as I mentioned, there is increase in anxiety and stress, so there is increased demand. Even before COVID, there is specifically interest in drug-free solutions in light of the recent studies about the side effects of medications. We see increased interest even among people who were not wellness avid before, and there are a lot of discussions around mental health and mental wellness, even in workplaces and business magazines, like that quote I showed here from Wall Street Journal. There are some financial limitations, so people are looking for affordable solutions. And because of the environment, there is a demand for remote solutions, such as online therapy or devices that can be easily used at home. There is also opportunity for studies. So many of the medical centers and research institutes are working remotely right now. They can see patients as usual, so they're more available for collaboration and in order to do or plan studies in order to test new technologies. So this is also a trend and an opportunity. And I wanted to give a few examples from our business just to show those trends. So as can be seen from the graph, we see nice growth throughout this period. I omitted the numbers, but the graph is real. So you can see that we see growth despite the fact that many businesses see decrease in their sales and revenue. We see increased demand, and I attached here a testimonial that brought tears to our eyes from a mom of a 10 years old who suffered from ADHD, Tourette, and anxiety. His situation got much worse because of COVID, and he was not able to sleep. And she didn't want to put him on more medication, so she bought CalmiGo, and the results were amazing. So we definitely see increase in stress and anxiety around us. We were also able to close a fundraising round, and as Shomrat mentioned, it's quite hard period to raise money, and we even raised double the amount than we planned, and WellTech One, as we mentioned, is one of our investors. So as can be seen from our example and for other examples of company in the field like BetterHelp and Talkspace, there is definitely increase in demand and a lot of opportunities for companies that can really help people during this time and pandemic. Thank you.
Adi, thank you so much. Wonderful example, and you know, you touch on mental wellness. That is the research that we're doing this year. It's an enormous problem made a lot worse by the circumstances in the world with the pandemic. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing to combat that, to work on that. I'm going to ask Susie, because with the time left, I'm sure there are questions to get to. I always have questions, but I'm sure that the group assembled has questions. So Susie, I'm going to turn it over to you before the finale, if you would.
Thank you, Nancy. And indeed, you are correct. There are a lot of questions. And this was a great and very interesting presentation. I'm going to ask two questions. Maybe Amir, you can address them that I'm seeing. One is, the question was, are a lot of these startups more about software or hardware? And then the other thing that I'm seeing on the board, and I would add my feeling about this too, is can we have more examples? The one that you just gave, Adi, was fantastic, but can we have even more? Maybe, I don't know if it's possible, Amir, to share maybe the top 10. I know there were finalists, and I don't remember if they were announced or not, but maybe just to give the group an idea of some of the other technologies that are out there. Those two questions.
Yeah, some of the top 10, some of the finalists were, for example, a company from Israel. Basically, out of those 125 companies, about half were Israeli and half from abroad. So one of the Israeli companies was in the physical therapy field, and basically they enables healthcare providers to deliver intelligent, accessible, and exciting physical therapy from far, directly to the patient's smartphone. So I think that was very interesting in an affordable way. And he was very impressive. Another example is a company that wanted to do something like the Scouts, but all the values come from fitness and wellness, and a bit from the Israeli army and the positive side of teaching leadership and teaching values, sports. So they are trying to do a streaming-based educational social platform to connect the kids worldwide. And as we know, most of the kids are at home. So to connect with each other and to do some sports, even if it's in your room, I think that's very interesting. Another company is a company that combines health, gaming, health, and kids again. So if you have, for example, if you have diabetes, you can participate in a game and you get educational values and insights to help you prevent and help you deal with your disease. Another company that was in the finals was her parents have a candy factory, and she decided from the US, and she decided to make those candies healthy from fruit and vegetables only. So we thought it was a very interesting second generation to a candy family, and she does only fruits and vegetable candies.
Thank you, Amir. And also, can you address, it sounds like a lot of these are more software oriented, or is it hardware oriented?
Yeah, we had mostly software, apps, services, that on the most part. I would mention another company that in the mental wellness, like Adi spoke, which thought that during COVID-19, wellness coaching is something very important when many people feel depressed and lonely. So you can just chat with an AI bot about your life and about your goals and about almost everything in an automated way. An Israeli company, also very interesting and very accurate to the time we live.
Very interesting. Thank you. Another question, and I have the same one. Adi, the CalmiGo that you were talking about, can you explain a little bit about how it works, and also what does it cost? We saw the device on one of your slides, but do you breathe in? What does it tell you what to do? Does it talk to you? How does it work?
Okay, so it's a bit small, but
good.
Yeah. So the way it works is by implementing three well-established methods for stress and anxiety relief. So the first one, as you mentioned, is breathing regulation. And CalmiGo uses lights and vibration signals to guide the users to extend their exhalation lengths. And the feedback adapts itself to the user performances in real time, because your needs are very different than mine, and it's really important to adjust to the user's needs in order to really be able to provide calm in just 3 minutes. So this is the first component. CalmiGo is also designed in a way that gently stimulates all the senses except of the sense of taste. And by doing so, we have like the visual with the lights, and the hearing with the vibration, and the touch with the vibration, and there is also soft touch to it, you'll need to believe me. And there is also this component that has relaxing scent, and I'll talk about it in a second. And by stimulating multi-senses at once, CalmiGo effectively detaches the users from the state that all their senses are overwhelmed by stress and anxiety to a calm and focused state. And this method called grounding. So today, for example, therapists instruct their patient to listen to the noises, to look at the pictures, to try to smell the scents. But it's of course very hard to do it when you are stressed or anxious. So CalmiGo is doing it just by its design. And this is one of the advantages of technology, that it's really easy to implement things that are a bit hard to do by ourselves. And the last component is this part, and we're using unique technology that enable us to embed aromatherapy oil into solid elements. So it's just like, looks like a plastic part. And we are using scents that were proved to enhance relaxation in just a few seconds. And the combination of these three methods is what enables CalmiGo to provide calm in, as I mentioned, less than 3 minutes, whether you are, it's hard for you to go to sleep, it's hard for you to concentrate, you're in the middle of a panic attack, or you are a student sitting in an exam and have a blackout, for example. So it doesn't matter, the reason doesn't matter because we are working on the physiology. So yeah, so this is in a nutshell. I hope it was clear. And it costs in the US $179. We also sell it in the FSA store, so people who have like flexible saving account can use it to buy it through their saving account. And we're also working with the Department of Veterans Affairs, so veterans can get it from their clinics for free.
So $179, that's $179?
Yeah.
And can you just show us how it works? Like, just can you use it for 15 seconds or 30 seconds so we can see how it works?
I'll do that. It's a bit hard to see, but it will be like kind of weird. I'll try to do it in profile. Okay. But what I'll do, I'll excel through the mouthpiece and you'll see that the lights turn on. And I'm trying to excel as long as I can to reach the phase that the three lights turn on together. And then I inhale through my nose in order to feel the scent. Okay, so I'll do a few cycles and I hope you'll be able to see.
Thank you.
Okay, were you
yes,
able to
thank you. Thank you.
And the demonstration part.
And while you're doing that, there's also a vibration part of it that you're holding, and you have the vibration, you have the sense of smell with aromatherapy, and then the breathing. Well, congratulations. It's a very clever, and for our wellness audience, something really interesting to see. I can even see how this could work in some of the settings that people have on this call. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations. I have a question for you, Amir. During a lot of the presentations, I'm hearing the term, wellness technology, health technology, medical technology. How do you differentiate? What is something that is a wellness technology versus something that is a health technology or even a digital technology? And is that something that you've been working on? Is it clear? Maybe you can help us understand that. And you'll have to unmute.
It's a very good question, because those are mixed sectors. Sometimes we tend to say that wellness is, until FDA, in a way, something that can be, it's not as regulated, and so you can get into those solutions faster in a way. We try to go along the Global Wellness Institute's definitions in those 10 main sectors that you research so amazingly. So today in Israel, as I said before, there are about 500 wellness startups, about 600 digital health startups, and a total of almost 2,000 health-oriented startups. So some of them are both. But if you for example, we invested in fitness, nutrition, beauty. Those are pure wellness startups. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, Amir, thank you for that. And I am very glad to hear that this is something that you're differentiating, because we have found, through the Global Wellness Institute, we had the same issue with wellness tourism and medical tourism, for example. Which one is it? If you go to a hot springs and you see a doctor, is that a wellness tourism or is that medical tourism? So there is some overlap. But what's really important is that there's a huge sector that is wellness, where you don't have to include a doctor and the medical, and it's not as regulated. And I think the device we're seeing is a perfect example. This can be used by anyone, and it's very, very helpful. So it adds to a person's health. And then there's, of course, the medical and the health side, which is also very important, but it usually includes more medical, more doctors, it's more expensive, and so on. So having both wellness and the medical is really important. So I'm very glad to see that you are differentiating these. And I'm just going to add one thing for you and the rest of the people that I'm finding helps people who are thinking about, is something wellness or is something health or medical? And that is it self-care? Is it something someone can do on their own? And that is oftentimes in the wellness space. And that's so important because we can all do something for ourselves, like fitness. We can exercise, we can eat healthy foods, you know, the beauty, the mental health, and so on. And then there's the healthcare side where you're going to a doctor and you have help, you know, outside of your own. So clearly the future is a combination of healthcare and self-care. And so I'm delighted that you're putting an emphasis on wellness and technology. So thank you for that. Nancy, over to you. We just have a few minutes left, but I know you probably have a question or two.
Thank you, Susie, and this has all just been incredible, and I will make sure to watch the video so I can see the slides that I missed. I would like to ask Amir, Shomrat, and Adi, what makes Israel the center of innovation? Just very briefly, what is in the culture of the place that inspires inspiration? We know the government supports it, but what's in the fire in the belly and the people in Israel that makes it so?
Shomrat, I will let you start.
I think you had a slide on this. But in one general word, I can say that it's a nervous country. You all know, and I think that when people are always facing situations, the brains are starting to work harder, and this is the way we do it here. And if I compare the first or the closest country to Israel. When the defining innovations and the initiatives is South Korea, and you can understand, a brilliant country as well. So I think the situation here in Israel, the people, the mixture of cultures, people arriving from all around the globe, literally, going into one melting pot of the army and all the technology of the army and all around it. I think everything all together makes Israel very innovative.
Thank you, Shomrat. I'm watching the clock even remotely, and I know there's a minute left. I'm sorry, Adi, I'm going to give Amir the last word on what makes Israel so inspiring.
Yeah, I think it's a survival instinct, you know, a way we are raised to dare and to try and to fail and then to succeed. And as Shomrat said, it's lots of reasons. It's the academia and the army and, you know, the friendship. In Israel, there is a word chutzpah. It's like, it's hard for me to explain that. Maybe Shomrat or Adi will help me. But
it's nerve. It's raw nerve. Chutzpah?
Yeah. so all of those together.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I think now Beatrice will unmute everyone to give you a warm global round of applause. It was a fantastic presentation. Incredible morning. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This is awesome.
Wonderful.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.